I want to tell you a little bit about a man named Alan Myers. He's our next speaker. He's a CPA and a forensic accountant with more than 30 years of experience in providing accounting, tax, and litigation support for bankruptcy trustees and civil litigators. He's a very interesting man to speak with. You're going to like hearing from him. He's an expert on money, banking, and the Federal Reserve System, working as a writer, speaker, and radio host on several national terrestrial radio platforms. Alan's also a member of the Leadership Council of Freedom Force International, a frequent speaker at Red Pill Expos. You may know him already. He's a faculty member at Red Pill University. And he's going to cover an important but often forgotten story in American history, and that is the women of the American Revolution. It's a story that needs to be told, and it's a good one too. So without further ado, here he is, Alan Myers.
Thank you.
Thanks. This will be your backup.
All right. This is my plan B in case plan A doesn't work. Welcome, everyone. When I begin a presentation, I just feel, and this is the way I was raised, I have to do my thank yous. I'll make them quick. My first thank you is always to Mr. Griffin. He wrote, yeah, let's hear it. He wrote The Creature from Jekyll Island over 10 years ago is when I opened that book. And it was only after I opened that book and started reading that I finally realized how asleep I was. I have never been the same since. Thank you, Mr. Griffin. I'd like to thank what I call the cast and crew. Have you seen the list of speakers here today and tomorrow? This is fantastic. I'm so honored to be in their presence. The crew, everybody who worked to bring this together, everyone who is working to make it happen, I never forget them. And we wouldn't have this event without them. Thank you. And my last little one is that I really have no artistic ability. All the graphics in my presentation, where is it? Oh, there it is. Did it go away? Oh, there. All the graphics is done by a friend of mine out of Michigan, Jenny. Thank you. We begin. I'm sorry, is the... There we go. First Lady, Prudence Cummings Wright. As you can see up behind me, you can see she was born in New Hampshire, 1740. 1761, she married David Wright. She had 11 children. 11. 2 died. She lived to the ripe age of 83, but her story begins on March 11th, 1775. I'm sorry, I don't know why this is not advancing. There. On March 11th, 1775, her 8-month-old baby girl, Liberty, died. Heartbroken. She's living in Pepperell, Massachusetts. She goes back to her family home in New Hampshire. She has 3 brothers, 2 sisters. Her favorite brother, Samuel, is there. She's trying to recover from such an unimaginable loss, the loss of a baby. While she's there, she overhears her brother, Samuel, speaking with one of his friends, Leonard Whiting, a British soldier. They're talking about passing information favorable to the British. Prudence doesn't know what to do. She goes back home to Pepperell. Despite her loss, despite her suffering, she goes back home. This is where her story really kicks in. April 19th, 1775. That's the day of Lexington and Concord. At this point in time, all the men, or almost all the men of her area, go away to fight. That leaves very little protection for the families and the women of Pepperell. Despite her loss, despite her suffering, Prudence forms a militia of women. 30 to 40 women join. They dress as men. They carry whatever farm tools or weapons they can find. The idea? To patrol the roads looking for courier spies. One night, they're at a bridge, Jewett's Bridge. It's over the Nashua River. If you're coming from the north through Pepperell, you have to go over this bridge. Prudence and the women lie in wait in the dark. Their lanterns shielded. They're quiet. They wait. 2 riders approach. At the appropriate time, Prudence and the women step out. Prudence demands to know their identities and their business. One rider, her brother Samuel, he knows Prudence means business. He turns to go away. The other rider, Leonard Whiting, I'm a British officer. No women are going to tell me what to do. Both riders are dragged from their horses, restrained, their persons and their belongings are searched. Dispatches meant for the British are found. The women take them to the tavern. They're kept there for the night. They're turned over to the Committee of Safety and eventually released with the promise never to return to the colony. Prudence never saw Samuel again. She got the name Captain of the Bridge Guard. But I want you to think about something for a minute, about Prudence and the other women. All or most all of these women were married, they had children, they had homes, they had farms to take care of. Their men are off at war. They found time to do this. Prudence, Cummings, oh, come on, please. Right. Ardent militia woman. Next woman. Oh, Margaret. Margaret Cochran Corbin. Born in Pennsylvania, 1751. Married to John Corbin, 1772. She had no children. She died at a very early age, the age of 48. Her fateful day is November 16th, 1776. But her story really begins 1755. At the age of four, the French and Indian War begins. Her parents send her and her brother away for safety to Margaret's uncles. At the age of 5, her father is killed in a raid. Her mother is taken captive, never to be seen again. Margaret, welcome to your childhood. At the age of 21, she marries John Corbin. 2-3 years later, John decides to join the military. Margaret is left with 2 options. One, she can become a camp follower. A camp follower, usually a woman, sometimes a child, cooks, cleans, mends, sews, does laundry, takes care of the sick and the wounded, maybe gets paid a little. As a camp follower, she is living with a group of military men in a military camp. That's option 1. Option 2, she could stay home alone, possibly become impoverished, starve, or be taken captive. She becomes a camp follower. November 16th, 1776. There at Fort Washington, on the north end of Manhattan. A battle is about to begin. Her husband, John, is a matros. He's the guy in the front end of the cannon, loading it. Fort Washington is being defended by 600. They're faced with British and their German mercenaries, totaling 4,000. The battle begins. Margaret's there to help John. After a while, that cannon site is hit. John and most of the team are killed. Margaret is once again left two options. One, run, Margaret, run for your life, for your safety. The battle is lost. Run! Or she stays and fights. She stays and fights. Eventually, that site is hit again. She is seriously wounded. She is hit by musket balls and grape shot. Her left arm is nearly severed. Her body is badly damaged. It is said that her cannon was the last one to fire in the battle. She lays there, suffering and bleeding. The British find her. They won. To their credit, the British medical teams take care of her. She lives. When she's finally released, she goes to West Point and becomes part of the Invalid Regiment. She helps take care of the sick and the wounded. Keep in mind, her left arm does not work. In July 1779, she is honorably discharged. She receives a pension, the first woman ever to receive a pension. Yes, it's half that a male combatant. This woman struggles financially and socially. It is said that she is, how to put this politely, rough, tough, maybe a little crude, unfeminine, has a drinking habit. Nobody really wanted to take care of her, though she really needed it. Finally, in 1782, she marries another man. He was a soldier, wounded. He only lives a year. In 1800, at the age of 48, she dies. She's buried in an obscure grave along the Hudson River. But in 1926, she got her due. Her remains were removed. They were reinterred with full military honors at the cemetery at West Point. She is one of only 2 Revolutionary War soldiers buried there. Margaret Cochran Corbin, patriot soldier. Next, Sybil. Sybil Ludington, born in New York, died 1839. Her fateful night, her story begins on April 26, 1777. There it is. On April 26, 1777, a rider comes to the Ludington house. He's searching for her father, Henry Ludington, colonel of the local militia. He informs the colonel, the British are marching on Danbury. Assemble your militia. It's time to fight. The colonel is faced with 3 problems. 1, the rider is exhausted, and so is his horse. 2, it's nighttime, maybe 9 p.m., and the rider doesn't know the area. The big 3, the militia has disbanded. They've all gone home to their farms. It's planting season. Well, the colonel is very bright. He knew his one solution. He got his oldest child, Sybil, to ride. Now, this is where I do a comparison. I'm going to talk about Sybil's ride, and I'm going to talk about a ride that you most likely know something about, Paul Revere. I'm not taking anything away from Paul. I just want to do it as a comparison. Paul rides April 1775. Sybil rides April 1777. Okay. Paul rides, his ride starts at 9 p.m. It is said Sybil's ride starts at about 9 p.m. So they're both riding in the dark, except Sybil is riding in the rain. Paul rides with two others. Sybil rides alone. Paul's goal is to make Lexington and Concord. Lexington to warn John Hancock and Samuel Adams, the British are coming for you. Concord to warn the British are coming for your weapons and your gunpowder. Sybil's ride is to inform 400 militiamen it's time to assemble. You must go to Danbury. The British are marching on Danbury. Paul rides. He makes it to Lexington. Just a side note on John Hancock and Samuel Adams to give you an idea of the time. It is over a year before they go to Philadelphia. They're already being hunted by the British, which means for over a year they are on the run, avoiding the British. They still show up in Philadelphia to put their name on a document that is, in essence, their death warrant. Paul makes it to Lexington. He didn't make it to Concord. The two other riders go on. One doesn't make it. He has a problem with his horse. It is said that Paul rode about 12 and a half miles. He never completed the whole ride. Sybil, on the other hand, she had the job of riding 20 to 40 miles in the dark and the rain alone. She did not make it home until sunrise, exhausted and soaked to the bone. Final numbers. The night Paul rode. Again, I'm not taking anything away from any of those that rode that night. The night Paul rode, he was 40 years old. The night Sybil rode, she was 16. The night Paul rode, he would not know this, but he was putting 43 years of life, future life, on the line. Sybil, 62. But I want you to think about this. For those who've raised teenagers, who just got their driver's license, and you're allowing your child to go out on a Saturday or Friday night, go to a movie, get some dinner. Please be home by midnight. Then you have Sybil, armed only with a stick, 20 to 40 miles in the dark and the rain, and you are praying that her horse, every stride, hits solid ground. At least I would. This is a statue in Lake Glenita, New York, commemorated to her honor. Apparently there's a stamp, 1975, made for her. Sybil Ludington, Freedom Rider. Next, Lydia Barrington Durra. I laugh a little bit because I've gotten to know these women through my study, and I usually just refer to them by their first name. And every one of them affects me a little bit different. And you'll see about Lydia. Lydia was born in Dublin, 1729. She married. She and her husband came to Philadelphia. She lived to be 60. Her profession, he was a tutor. She was a midwife. She had 9 children. 4 passed early. Her faithful night was December 2nd, but her story begins a little before that. As I said, they moved to Philadelphia. Lydia and her husband were Quakers. Quakers, of course, are pacifists. You don't get involved. The Duras didn't get that memo, and they had to hide their support of the Patriot cause. Imagine having to hide that kind of secret from all those that you share a religious belief with and a connection of friendship. September 26, 1777, the British come and they take Philadelphia. They're led by British General Sir William Howe. Sir William Howe decides to take up residence at a home on her street. What a mistake. This is when Lydia's spy career began. She would note the comings and goings. She could get out of town, or she would send her oldest son at home, John. When they came in, the British came in, eventually 1/3 of the population evacuated, including most of Lydia's family. So it was just her and 2 children at the home. December 2nd. For whatever reason, the British commanding officers, they're planning an attack on Washington and the troops at White Marsh. And they decide to have this, they decide to have this meeting in Lydia's home. And I can imagine this scene. They come to her and they say, "We're British officers. We will take you home. You can stay in your room, but be quiet and don't disturb us." And of course, Lydia said, "Yes, of course." Did I mention that Lydia is a masterful liar? They come, they have the meeting in the room. Lydia sequesters herself in a linen closet next to the room. Now think about probably how thin those walls are back then. She's in a linen closet next to a room where British officers are planning an attack. What happens to Lydia if she coughs, she sneezes, drops a thimble? What would they do to a woman spying on them? What would they do to her, her family, her home? She did it anyway. They leave. The next day, she has a coded note. She can leave town because as a homemaker, she can leave town to go to the flour mill outside of town. Okay? And there's more than one story on how the note gets to Washington, but it did. On December 5th, the Battle of White Marsh happens. Goes from the 5th to the 8th. It ends in a draw. The British come back to Philadelphia. Washington goes off to Valley Forge. Sometimes I wonder, would there have been a Valley Forge if Lydia had not gotten the memo about what was coming to them? The next day, December 9, some of the British feel that maybe somebody leaked the plan. And one person, Major John Andre, decides to question Lydia. Lydia convinces Major John Andre that she and her children were in their rooms, asleep, heard nothing. He believed her. Lydia did 2 amazing things other than to show the courage to do what she did. She outsmarted, and this is a Quaker homemaker. She outsmarted a British general by listening, and she outlied a British spy master. And who was Major John Andre? He was the spy master that turned Benedict Arnold. Lydia Barrington Dura, Patriot spy. Deborah Sampson, born in Massachusetts, December 1760, lived to 66. Her story begins in 1766, but a bit about her heritage. Her father was related to Miles Standish, Her mother, the first governor of Massachusetts, William Bradford. But her story really begins at age 5. At age 5, her father goes away on a sea voyage, never to return. Her mother, what is she going to do with 6 children? She puts them in 6 individual homes. At the age of 10, Deborah becomes an indentured servant. She must work for 8 years to help pay off the family debts. At 18, she is freed from that servitude. But in that time period, she became self-educated. She learned how to weave, which means at the age of 18, she was able to support herself by being a teacher and a weaver. 22, she had had it. The war raged. She changed professions. She dressed as a man. She took the name Robert Shirtliff and joined the military. Some of her experiences included, in her time frame of being an indentured servant, she learned to do and be good at hunting, fishing, and tracking. So she was fit for duty. One thing she did, she would scout British areas to determine numbers. Another one, she led a group into battle that ended in one-on-one combat. Another, she led a group that took a Tory home that yielded 15 Tory prisoners. After a year and a half, she finally succumbed. She got seriously ill. She was taken to a hospital, and the medical team there was able to accurately identify that this is not a guy. In October 1783, she was officially and honorably discharged. She married, she had 3 children, and in 1802, she went on a 1-year lecture tour, the first woman ever to do so. But I want you to think about this for a minute. Let's say you are one of Deborah's children. You know Mom fought in the war. You know that rifle on the wall? And she just told you to do your chores. What happens? And do you think Deborah ever said to her children, "Wait till your father gets home"? If you think she did, here's 3 quotes attributed to Deborah I want to share. First, "I burst the tyrant bands which held my sex in awe. Why can I not fight for my country too? My country." And finally, "I'm indeed willing to acknowledge what I've done in error and presumption. I will call it an error and presumption because I swerved from the accustomed flowery path of female delicacy to walk upon the heroic precipice of feminine perdition." Deborah Sampson, freedom fighter. So here they are. Yes. Prudence Cummings Wright, ardent militia woman. Oh, geez. Margaret Cochran Corbin, patriot soldier. Sybil Ludington, freedom rider. Lydia Barrington Durra, patriot spy. And Deborah Sampson, freedom fighter. I want you to think about this. Every one of these women, they put it all on the line for a dream. That dream was then, is today, and as far as I'm concerned, will always be freedom. I'm just taken by it. These women displayed uncommon courage and commitment. Uncommon. Yet, generally speaking, most of us, their names and their acts are not in our common knowledge. They have earned the place to be known, admired, appreciated, and celebrated. In closing, I will say this to the ladies, to the women of the American Revolution that I've had the honor to speak about today, to the women of the American Revolution I've yet to speak about. To all the ladies, I say this: thank you, thank you, thank you. You are my heroes, and I stand in your shadows. Women of the American Revolution. Thank you. Thank you. Where was I going?